Welcome to the Passion Fruit Podcast, where we delve into topics people are most passionate about, aiming to inspire and educate you along the way. Now, without further ado, let's dive in.
My name is Bella Hadid. No, my name is Anica. I'm not sure you heard of that reel where she says, "My name is Bella Hadid." So I did that.
No, I haven't. I
Uh,
haven't heard of that reel.
yeah, it's a TikTok sound. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm Anica, and I'm 25 years old. I currently live in Italy, in Genoa.
hmm
And what I do for a living is that I'm a junior web developer. So I code for a living.
You code. I was just going to. Okay, so that's really interesting. How are you finding coding?
It's really hard because I come from a totally different background. I've always worked in the
hmm
healthcare industry, and jumping into web development, coding, it's
hmm
totally a new world. But I wanted to do that when I was at the university because there was some introduction online. I tried it and I wanted to do it. So after my university life, I kind of wanted to do this
hmm
course anyway, just out of curiosity, but
Yeah.
then it ended up becoming my job.
No, that's really nice. So how do you find, like, obviously you said there was definitely a massive jump from healthcare to coding. Like even right now for myself, I want to get into coding, but because I'm in a healthcare setting and to switch to coding, it's such um it is mentally taxing. It's hard. So hats off to you for doing that. Like what would you suggest to someone else who's in healthcare if they wanted to get into coding? How should they go about it?
My advice is to try it on your own time. Don't think about doing it
Mhm,
as a job. Just do it as a hobby and see how it goes. If you like it, if you're enjoying it, and if you notice a difference in terms of passion and interests, and you feel like the healthcare setting is not for you, then jump into
mhm.
the software development uh,
Yeah,
environment setting. It's hard to say actually because everyone's situation is different. But
yeah,
my initial advice is just to try it as a hobby. And then if you
yeah.
want to do it as a job, you'll find out later.
No, that's sensible advice. I feel like some people might be very quick to, oh, I need to get this job. I should start in this job. But like you say, taste, test the, waters first to see what it's like, and then obviously
Exactly.
go further and have a
It's
go.
like experimenting with cooking or trying different physical activities. If you don't like that,
hmm
you switch to another. If you like it, you stay in it. That's it.
No, of course. No, I think it's important to learn to love your well, first, actually learn to love something or actually develop a passion for something rather than being so fixated on either, income or a career. I think most importantly, if you're going to succeed in anything, you have to be passionate about it in the first place. You have to have some sort of drive. And if you don't have that drive, and if your drive is money or just getting a job, mm, chances are you might not, go as far in comparison to someone who is completely passionate or likes what they're doing or has some sort of you know I don't know how to describe it, some sort of magnetic pull in somewhat way or another. So that's really nice to hear that you've started this coding, gone into the coding field. Now another question I've got is, I know you're doing YouTubing, right? When was the last time you uploaded a YouTube video?
It was a month ago.
hmm And what is your YouTube channel about?
My YouTube channel is about traveling, personal blogs, and interviewing people
Hmm.
and asking them about life satisfaction, quality of life,
Hmm.
people, cost of living of the place that they live in.
Hmm. Yeah. And when you interview these people, like, do you interview these people in random different cities in Italy or within the city that you currently live in, or literally whenever you travel, you just interview people?
So I take advantage of my YouTube channel by carrying on with my project of traveling,
Hmm.
making videos, and interviewing people. But I also use that as a way of traveling for my own enjoyment and
Yeah.
act as a tourist. So I do both of the things. So if I feel like going to Spain or in Portugal or anywhere around the world, I do that because I want to
Hmm.
travel to that country. I want to visit. I want to be a tourist in that place. But because of my YouTube channel and my project, I also use my holiday, my days off, or my holiday in general to find out about what it's like to live in that place and asking local people these questions.
No, of course, and I think local people have got lots to share about, the cost of living and how's the lifestyle like. So I'm guessing you're interested in lifestyle and how people are surviving in each city. Where have you even visited? That's the main question. Like, where have you traveled so far? If you could list out different
I've
cities or
traveled
countries,
to 11 countries.
that is really good.
Yeah, and I traveled to Turkey, Italy, UK, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, France, and also in Bangladesh, where I lived for 5 months. Um, Morocco, but I traveled to Morocco when my YouTube channel didn't exist yet,
Yeah.
and so
Okay.
many other
Yeah.
places.
That's really nice. So you're definitely well traveled. And something I say about well traveled people is that one, they're very intelligent. They've got a broader vision. They've got almost when we're growing up, our vision is very narrow. But when we travel, our vision broadens, and we end up, gaining a lot more knowledge. We end up seeing things in a different way. And I'm guessing you've probably experienced that, how, you know, culture, probably you've had more of an appreciation of culture. You like, maybe more traditional things. And you've probably also seen, this shift of, certain things becoming more westernized in, Asian places or that sort of stuff. And so, like, looking at whether, cultures have been preserved or not. So there's, like, that's what I've seen so far. What have you learned from your travels?
I became more open minded and I learned
Hmm.
that we are all the same. We are we all have basic needs uh, with different characters, personalities. Um, I learned a lot about culture differences and uh,
Hmm.
not so much history because I'm not into history, but I enjoyed taking pictures of monuments and just enjoying the sceneries, architecture, and talking to local people as well.
Yeah.
What else?
Can I ask?
Mm,
Yeah. So can I ask
yeah,
another
yeah.
question? Why are you asking people about, like, cost of living and, how the living is like? Why are you interested in that?
So I'm interested in that because I lived in the UK and I wasn't very happy about where I used to live. So I
Hmm.
decided to find out if there is any better place for me. So it was more like a personal journey, personal choice. And I
Yeah.
made videos about my trips, my interviews with people about where they live. And I realized when I posted about these things, I realized people really enjoyed watching these videos and
Hmm.
uh, gaining insightful information. In fact, my YouTube analytics tells me that my audience comes from India, United Kingdom, United States, and Italy. And the
Yeah.
age is between 18 to 30 years old.
Hmm.
And I talked with a few of my subscribers, and I also read some of my comments, and actually all of my comments. And learned that I learned that young people are interested in finding out where they want to live, where they want to work, where they want to study. They don't want to, especially young people in our generation, they don't want to stay
Hmm.
in the same place. They want to find out if there is any better place. So it wasn't just
No, of
me, but
course.
there was a lot of other people who were in my same position. And I'm not interested about the touristy part because YouTube has a lot of that information.
Mm.
What YouTube is lacking is insights, is quality of life and cost of living. So if someone wants to live in Spain, for example, or they want to live in India. I haven't been to India yet, but for example, let's say Spain. If they want to find out about Spain and they search for insightful information about living situation on YouTube, they're going to find my video and they're going to learn about it. So if they are interested in living in the UK as well, they watch that, they find my videos, and they can make comparisons and they can decide where they want to live and what city suits them.
You know what? I really like that niche. And you've just, as you were describing, you were saying not the tourist aspect of it, but actual, almost the realities of living and what it's actually like. If you go onto YouTube and type in Dubai, and then you actually go and visit Dubai, it's slightly different. you know and I think that's important. That's what people want to know. People are sat here in the UK wanting to move to Australia, for example. Majority of the doctors in the UK right now want to shift to Australia or the US, but a lot of them need sources, need information about what the living is like, how is the lifestyle like. Not that no one really cares too much about the tourist element of it, because that's just entertainment. That's everywhere. What they want to know is
Exactly.
how, what actually is my living going to look like if I were to go over there? Is there a certain, cultural expectation? Do I need to dress a certain way? Do I need to, is what's the language like over there? There are so many different things, and I think you've definitely hit a niche which is a big need amongst this generation. And considering how many people are leaving healthcare in the UK, I think you're hitting a gold spot. So hopefully, when you travel even further and even more, and you obviously make more videos, I can just say for sure you will gain a lot of attraction. That's a given. Like, I think I'd be interested in, okay, what is life like, yeah, in Spain, because I'm trying to learn Spanish right now. I want to know, if I was to go to Spain for a period of a couple of weeks or so, what would that be like? Yes, there's the excitement in going on an adventure and going into the unknown, but I'd also want to know what I'm getting myself into. And just to also consider, you're hitting not just like an age group, but you're hitting different careers as well. People want change, and that's exactly what you're giving. You're giving people insight into potential changes. So I really like that idea, and I definitely want to see more videos, especially traveling and go to different places and stuff. But talking about interviewing people, do you remember the first time you ever interviewed someone?
It was actually a long time ago because had to join I had I had so many things happening in my life
Hmm.
that I had to postpone and keep my project aside,
Hmm.
my YouTube project, I mean. So I don't remember who the last person was that I interviewed.
No,
I
that's completely fine. What
interviewed
about,
so
yeah, go on.
many people. I interviewed so many people that it's a bit difficult to remind myself what actually happened.
Do you know what? That screams that you're definitely someone who is outgoing and, someone. I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, from the sounds of it, are you an extrovert?
I mean, you're not the first
So
person who
you're,
says
yeah.
because I believe you, I mean, we follow each other on Instagram and you see
Hmm.
me as an
Yeah.
outgoing, someone who's an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. I
Hmm.
maybe my personality changed, especially because of my working background where I had to
Hmm.
push myself and talk to people, patience, and be more outgoing. Also, my YouTube channel pushed me to talk to people and interview people from different backgrounds. So my personality has changed, but you could say I'm an extrovert. I do, maybe I'm both. Okay, let's put it that way. I'm an extrovert, but also an introvert. So ambivalent, what's the word?
I think ambivalent. I feel like that's in genetics. Ambivalent, I've heard in genetics for some reason, or maybe I'm hallucinating. No, I can't. I
Oh,
can't remember. Wait, ambivalent. I can't remember. Is it? I say extroverted introvert. So you're an
ambivert.
in
Ambivert.
ambivert, ambivalent,
Yeah, it's ambivert. I
ambivert. Yeah.
looked up on Google. It's ambivert, so it means that you are in between.
You know what? I can now visualize that as well. So I'm guessing that YouTube provided you with a means to actually become an extrovert almost. Let's say
Yeah.
let's eliminate YouTube from your life. Do you think you'd still have, the confidence and the ability to actually go and speak and interview people?
No, if it wasn't for YouTube, I would not have the courage to speak to people and make YouTube videos where I interview because there was a lot of practice involved behind the scenes.
Hmm. No, of course. I can imagine that. Like, so literally, just another clarification. Would you say YouTube is also an element of your passion? Would you say it's also a part of something that you're truly passionate about?
Yeah, YouTube is my life. I cannot live without YouTube as a creator, but also as a consumer.
Yeah.
It changed my life. And I encourage everyone to open a YouTube channel. You don't really have to think about gaining lots of views and gaining
Hmm.
subscribers. It teaches you a lot. Video editing, how to face on camera. You learn about body language as well because you see yourself speaking and you see yourself how you speak, what you say. So there is a lot of body language and speech improvement, and you learn about YouTube analytics as well, and so many other things. Such, for example, when I made my YouTube about top places to eat in Leicester, I decided to learn some negotiation skills. I know it's a touristy video, but I wanted to give insights about Leicester because it used to be the city where I lived. So I wanted to give that information to the audience as well. And I thought I had the right information and tools to make that video. So let's go back to what I was saying, and that was negotiation skills, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to um, have a free plate of food in exchange of exposing their business. So I would email the manager or the boss or whoever, and I would ask them. I would actually start by saying, I love your business. I love what you do, the environment, food. And I was thinking that it would be a great idea to showcase your business to my YouTube audience who are going to benefit from it. And I would love to get one of your best plates as an exchange. And it worked fine. I ate in 5 places for free in exchange of exposure.
Do you know, you've highlighted probably one of the best perks of YouTube. Sometimes even I get, I even make exchanges as well. I'm like, I will review this element here in exchange for, a review of a certain product. So, for example, I'm a big fan of productivity journals. I've probably used over 10 different productivity journals from 10 different companies. Now that I've used majority of it, I can now put a review and put them all together in like one massive video. So it definitely has its perks. And I think when anyone's starting YouTube, they don't realize that they can do stuff like this. And not until they actually start will you know how YouTube definitely has changed me. Like when I've been YouTubing as well, like you said, you wouldn't be this extrovert that you are today, or what's the word?
Ambivert.
What's the word again? Yeah,
Yeah,
ambivert.
ambivert.
So you wouldn't be an ambivert today if it wasn't for YouTube. And definitely for me as well, YouTube almost acts as like this mask that I can put on, and I'm suddenly someone different. I'm someone else who has a sudden ability to be able to, either ask people questions or, interview people like randomly online. Like I wouldn't be able to do that before. Like that would take a lot of guts. And I end up doing things out of my way for the sake of YouTube and for the sake of, creating this audience, creating this like community of my own. So I definitely think, like you said, that you should encourage people to do YouTube, not just for the sake of subscribers and money, but also self development. There is so much
Exactly.
self development that comes into YouTube, and speaking in front of a camera. Not until you speak in front of a camera do you realize how hard it is to actually, speak in front of it. And every time you trip up, like for me, it takes 4 to 5 hours to record one YouTube video. And that's just me making mistakes over and over again. But every time I rewatch my video, I realize, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm doing that, etc. So I definitely agree with you with regards to that. And did you have any fears when you were starting off YouTube? Like, you're recording yourself for the first time, or anything that went through
I
your
did
head?
not, yeah, I mean, I didn't have any fears. It was just very creepy. Not creepy, cringe. It was very cringe. Like seeing myself talking on the camera, being shy and awkward. It was so cringe. Thank God I deleted those videos because I wouldn't be able to watch them. If I did, I would be shocked or whatever. Um, no fears, just mm, awkwardness. When I
Hmm.
had fears when blogging and making videos outside in public, I had fears, yeah, of judgments
No, I
and
think,
comments. People look
oh,
at me.
I think I have that as well. Like, it's a very common thing. You stick out a camera in the middle of, a crowd or public. It feels like everyone is looking at you, but it's only for like 3 or 4 seconds someone looks at you and then they move on and walk on and do whatever they want. And I just feel like I'm doing something wrong publicly, but I'm not. I'm literally just recording myself, but that in itself almost feels weird. And I think not until you actually do more of it will you actually overcome that fear and judgment, because I feel like it's all in our head, and when we actually get to do it, that perception almost changes. So no, I definitely, hopefully this resonates with other people who may consider even wanting to do YouTube as well. And going back to, when you interview people, you talked about, interviewing people from different cities and stuff. Do you choose a specific person, or is it someone completely random? Like, what's your thought process when you select someone to interview?
Yeah, I mean, I usually post my need on Facebook. Actually,
Hmm.
I search for Facebook groups first of
Hmm.
expats, or there are groups, Facebook groups where that are called Living in Spain, Living
Hmm.
in Edinburgh, Life in Rome, or groups like that with similar names. I search for whatever I find. I click on it. Also, depending on how many members there are, I join the
Hmm.
group and I post my request. And usually there are people who get back to me. I analyze their profile because I want to find out if they are good people or not. I have a feeling of how they are like when I talk to them on the phone or um, on the chat. And I'm pretty much good at finding out whether that person is reliable, good or not. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I think it's an innate thing or experience, whatever. But I've never had any problems with people I've met from Facebook,
Hmm.
from these groups. And because I use my judgment and because I ask them questions beforehand, I'm prepared. We are both prepared. And when we meet, we know what to expect and what to talk about. So, yeah,
Yeah.
short answer is Facebook groups.
You know what? That's a very smart thing that you just done there, because I was thinking maybe you potentially just go up to any random strangers and be like, "Stop, let me interview you about, Italy or whatever." But no, you've already filtered um people who are already interested themselves into, the living life and what that's like. So you're passionate about living, but you've also found your own group of passionate people who are also passionate about living. So that makes the conversation a lot better. And guaranteed, I bet you probably have gathered so much more information and valuable pieces of, information about whatever it is that you wouldn't necessarily get if you were to just grab any random stranger. And sometimes strangers are busy 90% of the time, going from place to place. And so I like that idea. And I think it's definitely given me ideas of what I could potentially do. And you've definitely taken good use of Facebook and these groups and stuff, because yeah, I haven't done much of that. I've been actively like searching just random people. Whoever comes up in my suggested, I just be like, "Oh, can I interview you?" So like it's a very smart idea, and I think it's definitely a lot safer as well.
I
So
mean,
you
your method is
basically, yeah,
not
go
that
on.
wrong. I mean, your method is not
Yeah.
wrong. It's just that everyone has a different method of approaching people.
No, of course. No, of course. Like
And
yeah, go on.
the people who got back to me are usually extroverted, social, outgoing people. If you ask
Mhm.
people in the UK, I don't think they would be very open to accept your request. So I think
Like, yeah.
ethnicity and the group of people who you ask play a huge part.
100%. I think there is definitely an element of, culture and what seems to be acceptable, what doesn't. Like, if I was to go on the street and ask someone, especially in central London, I don't think many people would be appreciative of the fact that I'm stopping them for an interview. Unless, I don't
Exactly.
know, if it was for Sky News or something, probably it's totally different, but I'm not Sky News. So I think the other question I wanted to ask was, from all of these interviews and all these people that you've interviewed, has there been anything quite astounding, amazing, or surprising about a certain city or country or living style that you're like, okay, that's crazy? Is there anything like that out there about any country or any city that you found, oh, I didn't expect that?
I can list many actually. There is a huge difference between Bangladesh and European countries. In
Yeah.
Bangladesh, there is pollution, poverty. Even though Bangladesh is developing and improving lately,
Hmm.
it's still not. It's not at the same level as European countries or
Hmm.
America. Um, there is a lot of cultural shock, and the mentality is so different as well.
Hmm.
There is also a huge difference between Italy and the UK. I lived in both countries,
Yeah.
and the UK is all about job and making money, productivity,
Hmm.
whereas in Italy there is slow living. And what I've learned from my YouTube project and from interviewing so many people is that there are two categories. One category, one group is that they want to live in places where there is slow living. They don't really care about how much money they make. As
Hmm.
long as they can pay all the basic needs, such as rent and bills and food, they are fine because they prioritize quality of life and people, food. They prioritize nature, the environment, and they prioritize mental health as well, living in
Hmm.
a place that suits their soul and it benefits them mentally. There is the other category of people who don't really care about colleagues and people, even if they don't get along with colleagues, as long as they get a lot of money, they have a fat, big salary, they're happy with it. In fact, the UK is all about economy, whereas Italy, there
Hmm.
is quality of life. In fact, you can see the difference of in Italy, there is great architecture, food is the best in the entire world, people are amazing, fashion, cars, and there are so many great things about Italy, and that's because they value these things. Whereas in the UK, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone, but what's the typical food in the UK? There is none. They all eat food from other countries. Fashion, there is no fashion sense. I mean, there is royal families fashion. That's okay. Um, what else? I mean, the architecture, the houses are all the same. If you travel to Leicester or London or Birmingham,
Hmm.
houses are all the same. In Italy, houses outside and inside are all different. They are so different and creative and beautiful.
You know what? That's You've definitely shone light upon that, and I think that change is definitely being apparent. Like if you go and look at the UK, I don't know, maybe 50 to 90 years ago, the fashion then was, prominent in the UK. Like everyone had a similar sense of fashion. There was an element of culture. I feel like culture 100 years ago was probably a lot stronger within the UK. Like, for example, the traditional dessert in the UK was be something like marzipan, which I think is this almond sort of paste, thing that people would have after a meal. And slowly, like if I was to ask one of my friends about this, I don't think they would be able to tell me much about today and what the common sort of fashion is. Or And not to say that the UK is bad at all, but I definitely say I would love if there was more cultural preservation, so cultures to be preserved in each country. and not to be so heavily influenced by, other cultures. Yes, we should appreciate other cultures, but definitely stand your ground with preserving that country's culture and what that country, serves and stuff. Not to say that UK is a bad place. UK is a great place in, various different aspects, but definitely I agree with, the idea of preserving a culture for that specific country. And how you've described, Italy, the houses being nice from the outside and the inside. um you've talked about the food as well, and you've talked about this concept of slow living, and that slow living is almost apparent in other Asian countries as well, where it's almost, what matters more is people interaction, families, friends. There's more of a social element to it, and I think it there are two different cultures. What you've essentially described in, I believe, sociology or psychology is collectivistic cultures and individualistic cultures. So collectivistic or collectivist cultures, or cultures which, there's lots of family, friends, that matters more. Whereas individualistic, you live on your own. You're working well, everyone works 9 to 5, but uh, their priorities are different in both cultures, and then lifestyle will automatically end up becoming very different as well. So what you've just shone light upon there is the actual difference between, the two different cultures, and that is, I think, definitely valuable, and only someone who's traveled will realize the importance of that. I feel like if you're to live in the UK your entire life and not see other countries in the world, you're definitely missing out on, gaining that additional knowledge and stuff. So no, I definitely agree with you to a certain extent with regards to, the different cultures and seeing all of that. Now, another thing I wanted to ask was, how or so what tools or methods do you use, or what certain questions do you ask individuals who are, talking about the cost of living and their living lifestyle? Like, what sort of questions do you ask? Because obviously you've asked multiple times, so surely there must be those top three questions that you tend to ask people that give you a lot of information about the area.
So my tools are simple, easy.
Hmm.
I use my iPhone 11 to make videos, and I use
Hmm.
my MacBook and Final Cut Pro to edit my videos. And I haven't bought any massive camera or professional camera because I don't need
Yeah.
that. I have a phone that does everything. I can just put it in my pocket, take it out easily. And if I had a big camera, it wouldn't be comfortable enough. Carrying it with me would be hard, or not very comfortable, and
Hmm.
I would get a lot of questions as well. If I had to go in a private area or in a museum, or I don't know, any private place that needs, um, that they expect me to ask for permission, a camera would attract a lot of attention. I keep my editing style is super simple. It's a little bit raw as well, because I want to make sure the audience, that people who are
Yeah.
watching, I want to make sure they are part of my video, they are part of my interview, almost like they are with us,
Hmm.
talking, listening. So my interviews are not professional at all. You would see me walking on the street talking with my interviewee. I don't even call her or him interviewee. I call him friend, um, or by name, because interviewee, it's professional. That's not my type of making
No, of
videos,
course.
making YouTube interviews. So you would see me
Hmm.
walking with this person, asking questions, like almost like having a conversation with a close friend. And then you talked about methods. What do you
The
mean by
after,
my
interviewing
methods?
so many times, this question. So what are those like top three questions that you tend to ask people that gives
Oh, yes.
so when I say methods, actually more specifically, what top three questions do you ask these individuals? Like, that I'm going to ask this question because I know this question gives me so much information from people, or I ask this you good insight.
Yeah, there are questions that I often ask.
Hmm.
They are all pretty much the same anywhere I go, and the questions that I ask are pros and cons of living in, and then the city name.
Hmm.
I also ask about job opportunities,
Yeah.
salary, working hours. I also ask about transportation. That's also a frequent question. um, Cost of living, rent or mortgage,
Yeah.
grocery shopping, because I learned that people want to know numbers, they want to know facts, they don't want to listen to long answers, they want to know the essential, the numbers, they don't want to listen to, well, it depends, well, it's personal, they want to know, the number. So I make sure, yeah, how it is. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure the person who is answering my questions is able to provide me that information, because otherwise I'm not happy with it. If 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 she answers me it depends, or
It's
a random or very generic answer, she
how
gives
it
me a
is.
very generic
Yeah.
answer, I wouldn't be happy about it, and I know my audience wouldn't be happy about that as well.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of the Passion Fruit podcast with your host, Shmail. Now, I've got a quick question. Are you passionate? And if the answer is yes, then fill out the form so I can interview you. And if the answer is no, chances are you do have a passion, but you haven't yet discovered it. I soon in the future will end up interviewing individuals who aren't necessarily, well, they are passionate, but they probably don't know what their passion is. And I just want to see if simply just by questioning people about their life and about things that they enjoy doing and about just their life in general, am I able to almost diagnose a passion for them? Well, that is just an idea I just thought of in this last 10 seconds of speaking, and I guess I'm going to have to stick to it. But either way, if you are passionate, you know what to do. I want to interview you.